Welcome to Entrepreneurs in Residence, a fast-paced TEDx-style event that features entrepreneurs who dare to be bold. I'm Risha Mandelkorn, Manager of Community Collaboration at Aurora Public Library. Over the years, as we've hosted Entrepreneurs in Residence events, I've learned a few things about entrepreneurs. One, they are in tune with their passions. Two, they are fearless. Three, they're always questioning how something can be done better. Four, they're optimistic about pretty much any possibility. Five, they aren't afraid of taking calculated risks. And six, they follow through and execute their dreams. Tonight, we'll hear the backstories for entrepreneurs in short 10-minute or less segments. And entrepreneurs, I'm going to be the virtual timekeeper. At the end of the presentations, Lucy Frechette, APL's Marketing and Communication Coordinator, will explain how the Q&A segment will work. And we're then going to open the floor to you, our audience, so that you can ask questions and maybe even do a little bit of online networking. So our first presenter is Karen Armstrong. And Karen believes that we don't see the world as it is. We see it as we are. So if what we are experiencing in life is not what we want, then a change needs to take place inside of us. Karen, what's your story?
Thank you very much, Risha and Lucy, and I'm so happy to be here and sharing the evening with my wonderful fellow panelists. My story would have started as I was in my corporate career. I had a wonderful corporate career in my younger years. I'm working for an international packaging company, learning lots, traveling the globe. And it was really a wonderful time in my life. Also young, where I was married and starting a family. So with that comes a lot more responsibilities. So by the time I had 3 young ones under 5 at home and was working full time as the economy was tightening up, and I'm going to say the extra cushions that would come with different management positions were being taken away. I found myself kind of getting a little bit worn down, to say the least. So there was really a point in that time that I just felt like I was trying to be super mom and trying to get it all done and look after everyone else. And I was feeling a little bit empty. And I remember coming into work one day after having a real challenge with my home care with a sitter, and my middle son had just had a meltdown. He was just not happy with all the changes, and he was clinging to me. And I felt like this really awful mom, peeling him off of me, handing him off to the sitter, and heading to the office for the day. And so I had a real touching moment driving to work that day. And when I walked into the office, it just so happened that one of my really close colleagues was walking down the hall at the same time, took one look at me and said, "You come with me." And I did, and we went into a small room, and she said, "What's wrong?" And I burst into tears, and I said, "I can't do this anymore. I just can't keep up with everything, and something's got to go." And she just looked at me and said, "You need Reiki." And she could have said any word in the dictionary that I didn't know, because I didn't know that one. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what Reiki was. Anyway, she just said, "It will help you find your truth." And that was somehow just enough for me to breathe, to get through that day, and then follow up with her. And that was the start of a new journey for me. I did end up going to an actual Reiki course. She didn't tell me that Reiki was, I could just go for a session and have that. It was like she was taking me to the full first degree 4-day course. And that was the start of the change, because Reiki just opened up another window for me. And it wasn't an immediate one, but it was one that worked over time as I started to learn a little bit more about what was important to me and what I wanted in my life. And So I downsized first and left the big corporate position and took a smaller position. So I had some more balance in my life because that is what was showing up as I needed more balance. And that was really good. And at that time, then I just poured myself into um, learning a lot more modalities. I'm very interested. I was always in customer service and sales. So very interested in human behavior, very interested in how we all tick and what makes us happy. So I was doing a lot of emotional intelligence courses. I took a course in the Enneagram personality system, and that was mind boggling to me. And so as we were moving to the 2000, the New Year's Eve, moving into the year 2000 and the change of the millennium, I had this restlessness inside me, and I knew I was ready. And in January, I took my boss out for lunch and he said, "You're leaving, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, I am." It was just a point of knowing. And I knew I had to go out and do this work for myself and see how that went. I wanted to combine um, the practice that I'd had in Reiki and also the understanding of the personality system to work with individuals and help them to tune into themselves and find their balance. And that's the tagline of my business is inside out being that nothing changes in the outside world until we make the changes on the inside, and encouraging balance in life. It's always a scale. We're always working through that, but that was the driving force for me to find that in my life and then to share it with others. And it was I felt like, little gifts were placed in front of me as soon as I got really clear on what I wanted, like something would just work out perfectly to give me the sign that, yes, you're on the right track. This is what you're supposed to do. And so it started, and it was a learning curve for sure, a steep learning curve, but I was loving it. And I think that's the piece, um, life is always going to be bringing those hills and valleys. But if we pay attention and keep learning and questioning from that, we grow with it and keep reaching and feeling into what our life is meant to become. And I'm a lifelong learner, always will be. That will never change. So I get out there and join networking groups to learn from other people, and that comes back into my practice. I lead a lot of things in the community, which enriches my work and helps me to gain some exposure and credibility in the community, and it's giving back. I'm really a community person, and I think a community is stronger working together. So it's been a wonderful journey, and so happy to share anything with you that you might question later in the time. So I am a Reiki Master. I teach Reiki. I see clients in person one-on-one. I teach people how to do that. I take them on retreats and journeys, and I work with the Enneagram personality system and do a lot of coaching with that. And it's very rewarding. And I'm very happy with my choice of career and my path. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Karen. Janelle Patadia has always enjoyed Bollywood dancing and business. While still attending high school, this amazing young entrepreneur combined her two greatest passions and started her own Bollywood dance school right here in Aurora. What's your story, Janelle?
Hi, my name is Janelle. I'm a secondary school student from Dr. G.W. Williams. I'm currently finishing my last year of high school, and I'm planning to attend a university and a business program starting next year. My company is Radha Krishna Dance. Radha Krishna Dance is a Bollywood dance school. Bollywood dance is a form of dance that originated from the Hindi film industry based in Mumbai, India. This form of dance often includes a fusion of many different dance styles like contemporary, hip-hop, classical dances, and folk dances. All throughout my childhood, I loved watching Bollywood movies. Almost every movie had at least one scene where one song where all the actors and actresses would come together and dance. I always loved watching these movies and these songs and spent hours and hours rewatching the songs and attempting to follow the dance steps. My mom would joke around that I don't know how to walk since I would always be dancing, but we never thought about my love for dance as anything more than a hobby. Before grade 9 started, all my friends were starting to get part-time jobs. One of my friends was planning to work at Kumon, another friend was working at an ice cream place, and another friend was working at the mall. These are all amazing jobs, but none of the available jobs interested me. I wanted to do something different. And that March break, my mom's friend asked if I would teach her daughter how to dance, and I agreed. So for 1 week, she came to my house for an hour every day, and we put together a 5 to 6 minute dance performance by the end of the week. I thought it was a great experience and a great time for March break, but I never thought of it as serious business. I went back to school and completely forgot about it. Then a few months later, when I told my mom that I'm interested in getting a part-time job, she suggested that I start teaching dance. I really loved the idea, and even though I didn't know much about business, I knew that I wanted to start my own dance company. And that's when my business journey began. I did a few trial sessions to see if my dance idea would work out or not, and I was surprised with the amount of people that showed interest in Bollywood dance. After a few trial sessions, I came across the summer company program. My grandma found an ad for the summer company program in the newspaper and gave me a cutout of it, and she thought I would be interested in it. I filled out an eligibility form for the company program, but I wasn't eligible for it since I was taking summer school that year. And I was really disappointed about this, but I wanted to do the program. So I waited for the whole year until the next summer, and I had kept the cutout pinned to my wall in my room for the whole year. And next year, I made sure I was eligible for it, and I applied. The application process included a business plan and a formal interview, both of which I'd never done before. I spent a month working on my business plan, which included registering my business, consulting insurance companies, budgeting, and much more. And after my business plan was done, I went in for an interview. I was accepted into the program, and I spent my summer of 2019 at the summer company program. It was all new to me, but it was a lot of fun since I was able to see my dream job become an official business. The summer company program gave me a lot of new opportunities. I was able to meet many new people, make many friends, and speak to many experienced mentors. I was able to learn a lot through this program about marketing, accounting, and altogether running a business. Some people that I faced two challenges that summer, and that was with my age and with some legalities. I was 16 at the time, and some people thought that I was too young to have my own business. They thought I was not capable enough of teaching dance and doing my own business on my own. There were a few people that even underestimated me and thought that my business was less serious than other businesses. There was one group of children that I taught that summer, and they had many issues with my age. I have a strict rule that parents stay outside of my dance studio while I'm teaching dance to prevent any distractions to the lesson and to the children. The parents in this group were not happy with this, and they thought I was not capable enough of teaching and handling their children on my own. They would constantly interrupt me while I was teaching my lesson, change my instructions and my choreography, and they would even ignore some of the suggestions that I would give. I overcame this challenge by changing some of my working methods. I started making sure that parents were more aware of my rules and how strictly I follow them, and I started changing some of the methods that I used to teach my classes. This is one of the biggest challenges that I faced because of my age, but I learned from this experience that proper communication with students and parents is extremely important to do well in business. I also learned that there are many factors that need to be considered in business. Business won't always work out the way you plan for it to work out, and depending on what you're doing and who you're working with, you may need to change the way you do your work or you do your business, and that's completely okay. It's also really important to be open-minded while you're doing business and accept all situations with a positive attitude, and that's something I learned through this experience. Another challenge I faced during my time at the summer company program was with a legal issue. I was working with another dancer and we did not have a contract. So based on our verbal discussions, I was under the impression that we were doing a performance without promoting any company, but this was not the case. And on the day of the performance, there was a big misunderstanding between us, between what company is being promoted and what's happening. We went on with the performance at the time, but I learned from this experience that it is extremely important to have a contract for any work done in partners or in groups. And these lessons are something that I always remember since they help me make sure I do better and I learn from my mistakes instead of repeating them. Another important lesson that I learned throughout my years running my business is that money is not the most important thing in business. The first dance lesson I ever taught during that March break was completely free of cost. Then when I officially started my trial lessons, I was charging $5 an hour from each student, and I did not have many students at the time. I would be teaching 3 classes every Friday and earning $20 to $25 each week, which isn't a big amount of money. Then once I saw some success, I decided to start charging a higher price, and I moved my price to $7 an hour, which is still a really small amount. I only started charging a higher price when I joined the summer company program and legalized my business. During this time, I did many free performances. I would spend hours and hours working on perfecting my dance choreography, making sure the music works and it's edited right, and getting the right costume for my performance. I learned that getting my company's name out there and building a network was equally, if not more important than earning the money. From all the free performances I did or the free classes I gave, I can now see how much I benefited. Even if at that time the student did not register after I gave a free class, or the video of the dance performance he posted did not get as many views or likes, I still got my name out there and gained a contact. And that is something that's extremely valuable for me and my company today. Bollywood dance is very well known in certain countries like India, but it is not as well known here in Canada. There are certain communities in Canada that do offer Bollywood dance, like in Mississauga and in Brampton. All throughout my childhood, I had to pay extra money to get a teacher to come to Aurora and teach me, or had to travel at least 30 minutes to go and attend a Bollywood dance class. Since Bollywood dance is not that popular here in Aurora, there are many struggles that I have to face with marketing my business. When I first started my trial sessions, I would be marketing my business through flyers. Then as soon as I legalized my business and joined the summer company, I would market my business on social media and through dance videos. This was extremely beneficial for me and my company and helped me get a lot of exposure to my dance videos, but it was really time consuming. It was really hard to manage time between school and my business, and it was not as easy as it looked to be. But I learned that making sure that I'm organized and I'm managing my time right, if I make sure I'm doing it right, I can keep up with the work and I can make sure I have time for my business without negatively affecting my school. I learned that it is important to have a proper balance between school, business, and also your social or personal life. A quote that I strongly believe in is, unless you try to do something beyond what you have already mastered, you will never grow. Through my business journey so far, I've learned that one of the best ways to succeed is to try something new and to learn something new. There's a lot to learn in business, and some of it is best learned by experiencing it. That is why I took part in the summer company program last year and am participating in the JA company program this year. Even if some of these experiences won't directly affect my company, they affect my understanding of business, they affect my ideas and my decisions, which ultimately affects my company. The lesson that I've learned from this quote is something that I use in my day-to-day life, and I use it to help me grow financially and personally. Both my parents have experience in investing. Growing up, I've seen them make many financial decisions and have many regular discussions on the stock market and on real estate. This has played a big role in developing my interest and my understanding of business. I would always follow social media influencers like Neil O'Brien, who teach teenagers how to start a business and how to invest their money from their business to grow more financially. Being a teenager, investing is something that is not that easy to do. Being under 18, there are many restrictions on what types of business and what types of investments I can and cannot do. So ever since I started my business, I've been saving my money until I had a good amount of money to invest. Then with the help of my parents, I would invest my revenue from Radha Krishna dance into the stock market to financially grow. Getting involved in investing at a young age has helped me achieve more and grow financially, and that is something that motivates me to continue working harder. Even though my profits may not be as big and my business is still a small business, I feel like doing what I do has helped me grow personally, financially, and to learn a lot more new information. Starting a business at a young age has helped me decide what I want to do in life and has also helped me learn more about all types of businesses. Instead of spending the money that I earn, I'm always trying to find a way to invest it and save it, either with the help of my parents or once I turn 18. I always keep a timeline of the progress I've made with my business, which helps me see what I've achieved and plan what I want to achieve next. I believe that setting goals is an extremely effective way of becoming successful in business. Setting monthly, yearly, and even long-term goals is a good way to stay motivated and organized. My goals for my business in the next few years is to expand Radha Krishna Dance. I plan on expanding by moving into a studio and teaching larger groups of students. My second goal is to gain more online recognition. I've been spending a lot of time lately on making short dance videos and promoting them through social media platforms. And my goal is to continue making these videos and get them to reach a higher amount of people. My third and final goal is to make a difference through my business. Ever since I was young, I've had a strong passion for stopping animal cruelty and helping people around the world. The thought that there are many children that are unable to get an education, many animals that are dying every day, and many people that are in need of help but aren't able to get help always makes me want to do something for them. My goal to help people and animals is something that motivates me to continue working hard and do well financially. I strongly believe that doing well and being successful is not all about what you can do for yourself. It's about what you can do for others. That concludes my presentation. I hope you had a good time hearing about my business journey. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Janelle. That was amazing. I think I need to take dancing lessons. I'm coming to visit you. That is for sure.
Featured entrepreneur Jackie Moore is the owner of Cafe Alexandra, a culinary gem in Aurora with an ethically sourced menu that is earning rave reviews online and by word of mouth. Her story is one that went from a career in the arts to technology to restaurateur and is the fabric of what makes a successful entrepreneur. Jackie, what's your story?
All right. Thank you so much for inviting me today. I'm very happy to be here. And I want to say hello to everyone out there. I know there's a lot of friends and family, so thank you so much for your support and joining us today. So I am the owner of Cafe Alexandra, and my journey got started when I was working for the Bank of Montreal. And I worked there for 13 years. And like Karen, I was in the corporate world for a while. And it was really great until it, like Karen as well, just got tired and that sort of thing. And the bank started to go through an evolutionary period. They laid off a lot of people. I was one of them. And then I just came to a crossroads deciding, what do I want to do? Do I want to go back to the corporate world? And I grew up on a farm, so we had a lot of really healthy foods. So I was exposed to a lot of healthy foods, and I wanted to incorporate that in my next venture. So I thought, I want to start my own operation. And so we decided a restaurant might have been too big, so we decided a cafe. So we incorporated all the 5 senses. We want to let everyone experience, from looking at the food, tasting the food, hearing the music, and smelling the food, and just kind of creating an ambiance or an area for people just to come and feel really relaxed and enjoy their experience. And so that's the direction we took. The whole path was challenging, to say the least. The construction part of it, but it got better as we moved on. When coronavirus hit, we had to do a lot of changing and pivoting. So adapting to change was critical to be successful. We installed all the delivery platforms so that we could create different streams of income. That would be one of the, I think, the logistical advice that I would give is to know your brand, to cater to your customers. This helps strengthen your foundation to grow from. One of the marketing tools that we used, it was critical during the challenging times to keep the restaurant going, was Instagram, Facebook, Google, all of them, just to stay in front of people's faces, because a lot of people were at home, and what were they doing? They were in front of their computers, they're in front of their laptops and their iPhones. So social media was used very, very heavily. And I think it was profitable as well. It really, really helped to keep you on the map, so to speak. Another piece of advice I would give is to team up with like-minded people. You're going to get a lot of people in your life as you're going down your path to try and establish yourself as an entrepreneur. Is you get told a lot, you're not going to make it, or you can't do something, or you're going to run into this challenge, you might want to do this. Stay true to yourself and stay true to your vision. And eventually, once it evolves, then people walk in and they're like, oh, now I understand what you were doing or where you were going with all of this. Another piece of advice I would give is be authentic all the time with people, no matter who you're engaging. For example, in our restaurant, I try to learn everybody's names who come in, create those connections and relationships to build any sort of business. It's critical to be authentic with people and not fake and just be there for the money, so to speak. What else can I say? Sorry, I'm not as prepared as Janelle. She knocked it out of the park today. Well done. Yeah, just getting back to change, for example. One of the things I really, really learned is when you take your mindset and you're in a challenging situation, if you take energy and feed it into negativity, it's going to breed negativity. So if you take energy and breed it into positivity and just keep focused on your vision and keep focused, like during those challenging times, you're going to grow, you're going to be successful, because then you start to attract positive energy around you. And that's what keeps you going. And you never know. For example, one of the lessons I learned during the challenging time was I got a phone call from a gentleman, and he said, I know you're closed right now and you're not operating, you're just doing takeout and finances are really low. He says, can you make us 500 sandwiches? And I was like, yes. And then I hung up the phone. I'm like, okay, we'll figure it out afterwards. And that just showed me that you never know what's going to happen the next day. Just keep going, keep taking that next step and moving forward, because you never know what phone call you're going to get the next day that gets you through the next month. The other piece of advice is being comfortable with not knowing the future. So what I just spoke about, you don't know what's going to happen. And remember that nobody else knows the future. So if people come to you and say, you're in this situation right now, you've been in this situation for a while, and I think you should call it quits. Just, again, stay true to your vision, stay true to your brand, and just keep going, and it'll work out, and just stay positive. And that's all I have for today. So thank you very much for listening. And yes, thank you so much for the platform as well.
Thank you very much, Janelle and Jackie. And now all I want to do is dance and eat. But what I am going to do is I'm going to introduce our next presenter, Bob Minhas. And now Bob is a speaker. I've known him for years. He's a coach, and I would call him a serial entrepreneur. He has a passion for supporting the next wave of entrepreneurs so that they can launch and grow their ideas into successful businesses. So Bob, what is your story?
Thank you. Thank you for this amazing opportunity. Yes, I'm so blessed to have known the APL team for quite a number of years on this project. And I'm sure as soon as all of you heard coach, you kind of just shut down. I'm gonna do something original today, and I'm not going to talk about coaching. I really, really want to share my journey to date of entrepreneurship. So it's a fun journey. I got to tell you, I've been doing this for about 17 years, being in entrepreneurship. And the core of what I want to share about today is what I've really learned to help me continue in what it is that I want to do. Because I think to Jackie's point, a lot of times you run into a lot of bumps, and Karen mentioned this as well, a lot of ups and downs. And it's really hard to maintain doing what we do in entrepreneurship, because it seems so easy to be able to accept a salary and sort of that security. As we can see from the economy today, it's not always secure as it used to be. Nonetheless, for 17 years I've been doing this. In 2014, I had this business running. I enjoyed it. I was in the business with my ex-wife, my wife at the time. We have 3 beautiful children. And, we've been featured on HGTV. So I got a chance to work with Mike Holmes and Brian Baumler and all these really, really amazing people, which is so surreal for someone like me, this kid that grew up in some part of Scarborough. And so it was a lot of fun. And then in 2014, my marriage ended. And it was really hard because I'm sure for any of you that have experienced relationship challenges, especially with children, there's a lot to navigate when it comes to the ending of a relationship. You essentially are mourning it as a loss, no different than any other loss in your life. But in that time, I ended up actually being homeless. So I basically lived on couches, in my car, in a storage unit in New York. You know, it's amazing what you'll do to survive. I guess that entrepreneurial spirit kicks in to survive. And so I had some really destitute times. It was about a good year and a half of, or I should say about 14 months. And it was a tough journey, but I got to tell you that time in my life was the most growth I think I've ever had in entrepreneurship. And what's funny is obviously here I am with no place to call my own, but I was still running my companies as best I can. I, was making money for whatever it is I needed to do and trying to serve clients. But you can imagine when you're not getting a good night's sleep and when you're trying to figure out where your next meal is going to come from, it tends to impact your ability to sell what you do. So it was certainly a tough time. And what I realized during that time was one of the greatest lessons in entrepreneurship, which is there's this belief that overconfidence and arrogance will get you to where you want to be. And certainly we see that exemplified in the media. But what I'm going to tell you is those 14 months really humbled me. And it really gave me a chance to realize all of the success that I experienced and everything that I built was never about me. It wasn't because here I was thinking I was this amazing expert that had been on all these TV shows and had all these amazing connections. And divorce will teach you that the people you think are your network aren't your network. So it was a humbling experience. And it took me a while to realize in the condition I was in mentally, there was no way that I can continue my venture. And that was hard, right? Imagine someone that had been doing this for as long as I have, and you have to come to the conclusion that you are not in the space or have the resources to do what you feel you're meant to do. So it was really, really super tough. But I'm going to tell you another lesson I learned. In entrepreneurship, please understand, I always believe what's called the fluidity of entrepreneurship, which means if owning a business and being self-employed every day of your life doesn't necessarily make you an entrepreneur. I've met entrepreneurs who return to the workforce, then come back to entrepreneurship and return to the workforce, especially in our economy in the last 10 years. There's no shame in that. And there's no reason to say to someone, you are not an entrepreneur if they're looking for opportunities for security. And that's what happened to me. I had to swallow my pride. I had to end up looking for an opportunity. But I'll tell you, I was blessed to find an opportunity working with the local government agency. And you wouldn't believe the job they gave me. The job was to go into small communities and coach people on how to start a business. And it was incredible. You can't even imagine a guy that had been self-employed for 8 years with no real work history getting into a government agency and them saying, you know what, Bob, we want you to teach other people what you've learned along the way and help them avoid what happened to me. So, that fluidity really, really hits home because again, we see that. We see a lot of entrepreneurs who go in and go out of the workforce. And the way I look at it is, it's a really great way not only to build your skill set when you're in the workforce, but when you leave the workforce, you come out with some amazing, amazing talents. So, that was another huge lesson for me. And I never judge anyone who says I'm side hustling, I'm doing something while I'm working. I think that's an amazing leap to take, that you're working, but then you're also trying to build something of your own. So that was quite a lesson for me. And then over time, as I finished my work with the government, I started returning back to entrepreneurship full time. I got, I spent a lot of time on self-care and a lot of time on my mental health. And, that really helped me come to the conclusion that I came to more recently. And this is sort of the three-pillar approach I want to give all of you. And I want you to share this with the world. This is what after 17 years, this is what I've come to believe in my journey, what entrepreneurship is and how you can succeed in entrepreneurship. Anybody, please understand, anybody can be an entrepreneur. When someone tells you you were born to be it, certainly there are predicating factors when you grow up, whether you're in an entrepreneurial family or not, those can lead to success, but anybody can be an entrepreneur if you have these three pillars. These three pillars will help anyone be a success. Number one, obviously, and Janelle pointed this out when she did Summer Company, is business skills. A lot of time I meet entrepreneurs who start doing what they love to do. They say, you know what, I love to dance, or I love to cook, or I love to help people achieve transformation. But they forget that around that skill, around that passion, you really need these bases of business, right? You need to understand marketing, operations, finance, and administration. You need the bare minimum of that to succeed in any type of venture. So those business skills are readily available by so many amazing resources. APL is an amazing resource as well when you're looking for information on how do you really upgrade and develop your business skill. Number two is wellness. Wellness is a big thing. And this is what I learned is wellness is not just about mental health, but it is about physical health. The moment I started taking care of my body, now please hear me. This is, I don't know if you can tell from my Buddha belly. It's not that I'm saying you got to work out and be in shape, but you certainly got to be mindful of what not only you're putting into your body, but how are you treating your body on a regular basis? Do you give it the energy it needs? Do you treat it the way it needs to be treated? Because I promise you, those of you who are finding entrepreneurship really exhausting and tiring, look at what you're eating and look at how much time you're spending on energy, except like working out or walking even. And I guarantee you'll find the moment you start taking care of your body, you will skyrocket in your success in entrepreneurship. But of course, more than physical, mental as well. How are you coping with stress? How do you deal with failure? Failure is not something to be ashamed of. And I know in 2020, we hear that a lot, but there are still a lot of people who hide from it. The ability to understand that, entrepreneurship is a journey. Every day is a learning experience. You will never find, I promise you will never find an entrepreneur who says, I built this yesterday and I'm a millionaire today. You need to go through this process. And what you end up doing, which is what I learned in those 14 months of cold winters in the car, is you start to build resiliency. You start to learn how to manage the challenges that you have and the failures that you experience. But here's the other thing. You start to really honor the wins that you have, the successes that you achieve, even the little things that get you a step forward. You really start to recognize that. And that balance between physical and mental wellness is another key factor in entrepreneurial success. And then of course, number three is connection. And I believe Jackie sort of touched on this as well. Again, you will never meet any entrepreneur in the world that says they built what they built on their own. Who you surround yourself with will always lead to your success or demise. So I ask each of you on this call, think about the 5 most common people you hang out with and ask yourself if they are the people or if they live the life that you want to have, especially as an entrepreneur. A lot of times we sort of just hang around the people we've known, right? We have a partner we love, and then we have a couple friends, or we have our coworkers, and then we never really look at, are these people living the life I want to live? And then we wonder why we get stuck. The people that surround you are the ones that will evolve you. That's an important distinction to make. And there's a couple ways to look at it. You certainly want to surround yourself with people who, share your concept and belief in entrepreneurship. And Jackie touched on that. You don't want the naysayers around you. But you also want to make sure you surround yourselves with the right mentors, right? I think a lot of us assume if we watch Gary Vee or if we watch, Grant Cardone, or if we watch all these people, we're going to learn so much. But I promise you, you want a mentor that shares the core values that you have as well. And that might be Gary Vee, that might be Grant Cardone, but you also want to ensure that the time that you're spending and investing in this mentor, that because they reflect your values, you're happier in working with them. You're going to see yourself evolve. So I know that I might be going over time. So I really want to summarize kind of what I'm talking about today, the 3 core pillars to any level of entrepreneurial success. Number 1, business skill. Find those skills. YouTube, the Aurora Public Library, find those resources to help you learn what you need to learn. Number 2, wellness, and that applies physical and mental. How are you coping with stress and failure? How are you dealing with success? What do you put into your body, and how do you treat your body every day? Make sure that you're treating it as if you would anything else you love. Think about a plant. FYI, if you've killed plants, don't think about that. And then of course, number 3, connection. Who are the people around you every day? I love calling Karen my friend. There are times when Karen will run a workshop or do something in the community, and it completely opens up my mindset. Who is around you every day on a regular basis? I'm going to give you a little tip. You can choose that. A lot of times entrepreneurs say, I can't, Bob. I'm kind of stuck with the people I'm around. That's a choice. We all have a choice. We all have a choice to surround ourselves with the people that we want to. This might mean that you have to perform a friendectomy, and that's okay. It's not easy. But that's what I've learned in 17 years of amazing successes, amazing colossal failures, and to a point now where today I live every day. I'm always excited to jump out of bed. I get to choose the life I have because I get to spend time with my kids, because everything that's happening around us, it's actually helped me evolve so much more. So I probably went over the 10 minutes, but I really, really want to thank all of you who made it out tonight. I'm so grateful for the other speakers that shared their information. And I'm so grateful that after, I think, 3 or 4 years, APL is still running this series, because this has been an amazing series for me over the years. So thank you, everybody.
And thank you very much, Bob. And to all of our panelists, you know, there are things that everybody is so very different, and yet the energy and the commitment, and, you know, I think the curiosity to discover what life is all about, that's something that everybody on this panel shares. And thank you so much for being with us today. But now I want to open the event over to our audience. And I'm going to ask Lucy, who's our marketing, communication, and tech whiz, to go over the magic of virtual networking. Lucy, please.
Thank you, Risha. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here tonight and to be assisting with the Q&A portion of tonight. I'm just going to share my screen, so bear with me here for a sec. Just a couple of pointers on today's Zoom functions before we get started. First, everyone tonight is muted and your videos are off, so don't worry about making noise, or just sit back and get comfortable. We're using our Q&A features tonight. So if you want to participate and submit your questions, just type in your question into the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. I encourage the audience to participate by doing so. And if you can, when you type in your question, include who you would want to address the question to. So if it's for one or for all, you can do that. I'll be reading them, so that will help me a lot. And we wanted to do something a little bit different tonight because Entrepreneurs in Residence at APL, it's always been about networking. We wanted to open it up and give the audience an opportunity to voice their own questions, come up on video, and participate that way as well. So if you are interested in doing that, with your question, just type in, turn on my camera, turn on my audio, and I will do so with that.
So while we're waiting for people to come on with their questions, I'm going to actually ask one. I would like to ask whether you think that you have kind of hit your point of where you have succeeded, or do you think that this is going to be an ongoing journey of discovery into new ventures? I wonder about the entrepreneurial spirit. Do you always have to find something new? Because I'm not an entrepreneur myself. I've been working in the library for so many years. It's all I've ever done. And I wonder about people who are brave enough to create, and whether, like an artist or a writer, you have to keep creating something different. So I will put this out to anyone from the panel who would like to answer that question, or everyone.
Yeah,
I'll go first if that's okay. Oh, Karen, you go first. Please go ahead. Sorry, Karen.
It's okay. I knew one of us would. Thank you, Risha. I'm going to say yes and yes to your first question about, do you think you've become a success, and do you think you still need to keep creating? So yes, I think it's really important to acknowledge where things have worked, and the things that I have done to create what works. And then it's always, well, and I think it's part of who I am. I'm always wanting to take a pulse of where my clients, it's all about my clients. I'm always learning, and my clients teach me all the time. So I keep a pulse. This year for sure has been a complete shift for everyone and the world. And so therefore, what my clients are going through has intensified. And then how do I best support and step up to be what they need of me now? And so I think by keeping myself focused on the service and the result that I want to provide for my clients keeps me always being present, aware, listening, watching. And as the others have said, wherever you expose yourself, you bring things back to who you are and what you do. So yeah, awesome question. Thank you for that. And I think you're an entrepreneur too. Just because you've been at the library, you're thinking of new programs and new things all the time too. So I wouldn't
I agree.
shortchange.
I agree. I know what it's like to work in an institution. You have to be pretty entrepreneurial to succeed in some of what you guys go through. So yeah, that's a great question. I think, for me, I've been through so many ups and downs. And one of the things I've discovered is, to Karen's point, is entrepreneurship to me isn't about creating a business. Entrepreneurial is a style of thinking. It's a way of thinking. And I think for most entrepreneurs, as their business grows and builds, it usually will hit some sort of plateau, whether they decide to sell it, whether they decide to give it to will it to their kids. I don't think we ever stop thinking entrepreneurially. So, success is a relative term. Success might be financial. Success might be freedom. So for me, I'm always evolving, and that could be part of my ADHD. But I never like to sit down and stop if I know that there are people I can help. Right? If we live in a world where everything is perfect, Big Brother 1984, if we live in a world where there's nothing wrong with the world, in our eyes anyway, or the Matrix, if you will, then I'll take a break. But there's always something entrepreneurial people can do to help the world, right? I may have made a lot of money and I may be doing really, really well. But if I know, I think it was Janelle that said that she has a cause as well. But if I know there's a cause that is still going on in the world, whether it's children, animals, health, I can't stop. I always want to figure out what is it that I can do to contribute to that entrepreneurially. So even if it's not my business, I'll at least contribute to it, whether I'm on a board, a not-for-profit, a social enterprise. So for me, it never ends. My initial goal, my root goal, what I always focus on is my children have to have security. I always want to make sure that when they come of age, they're going to have choice in life. Because as all of us have experienced, when you work for somebody, that, in most experiences, takes away from choice. And so once I've hit that goal, once I know that no matter what my kids are going to decide to do with their life, they're always going to have the financial backing to do that, I have a complete freedom to do whatever. And for me, here's a little insight. I know some people laugh at this. My retirement goal, I want to be like Michael Landon from Highway to Heaven. I don't know if you guys remember that show. Janelle, you might be a little young to remember that show. I want to go like town to town to town, just fixing businesses. Like that's just, something Karen and I think share, is that I think we have it's a very Spider-Man quote. I think we have a purpose. When all of us in this room have the ability to change and help people, I don't think you can really stop being an entrepreneur.
That's great. We have a few questions. I have one here from Paul, and he's opening it up to all of the panelists. I've always wanted to start something new, something that I love, but how do I make that decision to leave a full-time job to do a startup? Should I save money like crazy until I could afford 100% of this startup? Anybody want to take that?
I'll go if no one goes. You know what? So here's the best advice I'll give you, Paul, that I've applied to a ton of entrepreneurs. I think at my age, I don't like taking the leap anymore. There's this concept that, just take the leap and take the risk and it'll all work out. That's not my philosophy. My philosophy is this, Paul. You have a job and you've got so much time at the end of the day or on the weekend. Commit to figuring out what your business can do and start earning money as a side hustle. Just, 1 or 2 nights a week, figure out what you can sell, what product you can give, what service you can provide, and just start building money there. And essentially, all you're trying to do, Paul, is every week or every month, you're just trying to make a little bit more money. And the goal, and I think it was Janelle or Jackie had mentioned goals. The goal is just, what's your annual salary? Your goal is to completely build that side hustle until it matches your salary. To me, that is the smartest and safest way to make the leap.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Bob. We have another question here. This one's for Bob. I'm going through my own relationship hardships, so I feel like I can relate to your story. I'm wondering what advice you can share for your entrepreneurs having trouble with their partners on the journey.
There we go. I have to tell you a little bit of background. I think Karen has met my ex-wife because, we used to do a lot of network together. I'm going to be fully honest. Our relationship broke down because I wasn't able to communicate. So, you know, I think we both struggle to communicate. So the first thing when it comes to entrepreneurship and relationships, especially when you're starting to make that leap, is one of the things I'd wish I'd done when I was married is be completely honest, be completely forefront. Hey, you know, hon, I really, really want to do this. And I really believe that I can do this. I need to know from you, what security do you need so that I can pursue this? And I think what I see is, and I get a lot of entrepreneurs who call me in confidence who say, I want to do this, but I don't want to tell my husband or my wife, or my partner, I should say. And, you know, the challenge becomes when you aren't open and communicative about it, it will never succeed. So I completely appreciate where you're coming from. My first suggestion would be this: be very open and honest. This is what I'd like to do. I would like to know from you, my love, what is it that I can do to ensure that you're on board with this mission? Because here's what happens. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs who take the leap and suddenly the partner is carrying the financial load, and you've had a bad day and they've got to absorb a lot of your bad day. And then when they're stressing out, you don't have the capacity to support them. You really need to set those boundaries and ground rules with them to say, this is what I'd like to achieve. How can you help me? Now, the way around that is, it's not perfect. Sometimes your partner may not be able to see the forest from the trees. And that's where you rely on extended family. My mother-in-law was amazing at supporting my marriage when I would say, you know, I need to do this. My wife needs a break or she needs to do that. Can you help us? So sometimes the relationship with you and your partner, it's really hard to find that balance. Think about all the ways that you can integrate other supports so that your partner isn't in that stressful mode. And I know Karen's got some amazing insights on this as well, but that was my experience. Is I wish I'd been more honest to say, hey, I really want to do this and achieve this. What do you need from me, or what do you need in this relationship to not feel the fear or the risk, or minimize it, so that you can support me on this journey?
Great. Thank you, Bob. Next question is from Rachel. This question is for all the panelists. When creating or developing a business that is founded upon something that already exists, how do you differentiate yourself from others out there?
For me on this, I'm going to say people like to do business with people that they like, know, and trust. So there's lots of businesses that have a lot of different, like if you look at massage, realtor, chiropractor, there are many businesses that have many choices of who you go to. You're never going to be what everyone needs. So being true to who you are and sharing that so that those that are meant to be with you are drawn to you. So it's creating, to me, business is creating relationship. People are going to want to do business with people they like, know, and trust. So it's building relationship is what's going to segregate you from others. And there's lots of different ways of doing that. But that would be what I would suggest.
I'm with Karen on that, but before I answer, I want to give like Jackie and Janelle. Like I feel like we're stealing the room. I don't know if you guys want to offer.
Thanks, Bob. No, I'd like to echo what Karen said, because right now I'm in the area and it's very brand new right now. There's a lot of development that's going up, and people always say, you know, what's going to be going across the street? And some people say, well, what if another cafe opens up? And I said, that's okay. There could be another cafe, even if they sold the same type of food that we do, plant-based. It's who you are and how you treat your customers and the relationships that you build with those people. And that's another reason why I chose that location, is because I wanted to create the relationships with those people, with that community, from the ground up, rather than moving into a location that was already established and already had those connections. So I'm with Karen totally. Just be yourself, be authentic, be transparent, and you will build those relationships. And even if you have those two cafes or whatever business you're in right beside each other, they will go to the people that they trust and who are honest with them, for sure.
Yeah,
Great.
that totally, I'm with that as well. And I think one of the things that I often talk to people about is this idea of really, when you differentiate yourself, that's essentially you're trying to niche into something, you're trying to figure something out. So when you're doing something that already has a main base, right? Realtor, insurance, doctor, dentist, the goal is everything that Karen and Jackie just shared. you also want to figure out, okay, of all these people who are doing this service, what are they doing really well and what are they doing really bad? And the idea here is your opportunity for success is, can you do better what they're doing badly? And that might be customer service. It might not even be the industry. It might be something in customer service, client experience. It could be that, you know, their convenience and location. And then you want to meld that with, what do you love to do? So when I meet people and they say, well, Bob, I'm going to be a dentist. And, you know, it's because, you know, I'm from a South Asian family. Typically we roll into what we're told to do. I was the black sheep. But so when, you know, what is it you love to do? How can you insert that into being a realtor, a dentist, a doctor, a chiropractor? You know, I've met amazing people who love children. So how do you really become that dentist that focuses on children? I've met people who are actually really nice lawyers. And so the goal is, you know, how do you become that lawyer that people feel comfortable asking questions about? So when you're in an industry that's very, very populated, like there's a lot of people in it, your goal is really to figure out, what can you do better than everyone else? So what is everyone else doing badly? And, you know, what is it that you love to do that you can inject into it? That's really how Virgin was built. Richard Branson, all he ever did was go into industries and look at, what are people doing really badly and what can we at Virgin make it, how can we make it better? And I promise you, every single time, combined with what Karen and Jackie just shared, every single time I've met an entrepreneur that applies those three concepts, they'll always achieve success, always.
Anybody else? Okay, we have another question here. This question is for Karen and Jackie. What advice do you have for a corporate entrepreneur looking to make the transition before and after making the choice? What do you regret and what are you grateful for?
Okay, this is Jackie. Regrets, I don't really have any. What am I grateful for? Being in the corporate world, I learned a lot about leadership. I was put on a lot of courses. I was taken under a lot of mentorships wings. One person one person I'd like to mention is Claudette McGowan. She was a wonderful person in my life and an incredible leader for me. So I wouldn't have gotten that otherwise had I not worked for the corporate world. Taking the knowledge, what I learned about that, and bringing it into entrepreneurship and using that within the business that I'm using today, I'm very grateful for. Making the transition, I was laid off, so I didn't really have a choice, but it gave me time to reflect, and the transition was easy for me because it was already in my heart that I wanted to do something for myself and do something for other people, and just to build on that, just take a step back and just not be careful. I took a leap. Bob has a safer approach, and I would highly recommend it to listen to him. But you're going to listen to your gut. It's very, very true, and it will tell you what to do for sure.
Totally agree with you, Jackie. And for me, I think I was preparing myself, even though I was working in the corporate. I'd gone from the large, very demanding position that I had to a chosen kind of not half responsibility, but a lesser responsibility position, taking less money. And I asked to work. I had more confidence to ask for what I wanted. And so I started by asking for a 4-day work week. And on that last day of the week, I still worked, but I worked in what I was building and passionate about. And I started exploring offering services and offering workshops. And then I found myself thinking more about that than I was about my career job. All my energy and all my focus was there, and it was like, I have to do this. I don't want to live with regrets. That's something that really drives me. So I got to a place where I was like, okay, I've got to try this, but I do know myself as well. And I know that I can get distracted easily from my specific needs and goals to look after others. So I hired a coach for my first year. And I think that was like a phenomenally brilliant piece for me to have a good business coach that helped me stay accountable to me and on track. And everything that I did at the start of the year on where I wanted to be by the end of the year, I had surpassed it all because I took that coach. So I think that was a really important way to get serious on the get-go.
Thank you, Karen. We have one for Janelle. Janelle, how are you able to manage friendships and pressures on social media at such a young age? Or are your friends part of your success?
So I think it's extremely important to make sure you're being friends with the right people. There are many people that will come and try to take you away from your goals or convince you to do something that will take you away from your goals. So it's really important to make sure you're hanging out with the right people and you're spending time doing the right things. So it's important to know your priorities. If you know that you have, for me, if I know that I have schoolwork, I know I have a test, I know I have to focus on my business, then I know I shouldn't be going out and doing something that's gonna take me away from my goal or prevent me from doing my best. Um, for me, I feel like my friends have been really supportive, and all of my friends, they're amazing. They all have ideas just like how I did for my dance school. I know one of my friends started her own makeup brand, and they're all interested in, they all have their goals and they know what their priorities are. So I've never really had an issue with my friends. I've seen people that have come and tried to take me away from my goals. I've had that experience before, but I think if you really know what you want to do, if you're really motivated, and if you have that cause of why you're doing your business, and for me it's that I want to help people, and if you really believe in it, then nothing should really take you away from doing what you want to do. For social media pressure, I haven't really experienced any pressure online. There are many people that will message you, DM you on Instagram and say the wrong things, or there are people that aren't really interested in your business, but they'll come and they'll message you things that you don't really have to pay attention to every single message. There are some people that are wrong and they'll come and message you. You should just ignore them. And that's something that I've learned to do. And there's good and bad with social media. So it's always good to make sure you know what your limits are, you know what's right to do, what's wrong to do, and you know how to identify what you should be doing on social media.
That's great. Good answer. We have another question here from Jasima. How does one not get overwhelmed after being employed at a corporate company for 20 years? Finance gets hard. Does anybody want to take
Well,
that?
I can go. Yeah, I feel I don't want to steal the spotlight. I remember making my evolution. I used to work in telecom, and so when I got into entrepreneurship, I worked for Rogers and Bell, and it's a very structured environment, right? You show up on certain time, you have a break, you have a lunch, you have a break. They sort of structure it for you, and they give you the work. And then when you make this evolution into entrepreneurship, the challenge becomes is how do you maintain that structure and that discipline when it's on your own? Because typically, what happens, we make that leap to entrepreneurship, and it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right? We just go out and we want to have fun. But Janelle made some really good points about discipline. You really, really need to ensure that you set yourself up for success and you're disciplined with that structure. And for me, the easiest way was I live and die by my calendar. My calendar dictates to me what my days are going to look like in advance. I'm not good at getting up Monday morning and thinking, what should I do today? I always dictate my calendar in advance. And here's how I do it. So I have this sort of filter that I use. So I start with my vision and my mission, right? What is it that I want to achieve in my life? And what is it that I want to achieve in my business? And when I've defined my vision and mission, and then I bring it down to really think about, okay, so, of that, what core goals can I get? So if my mission is to help entrepreneurs achieve next level success, what goals do I need to hit to do that? Whether it's, I need to talk to 30 people a month, I need to do that. And define goals by a year. So in a year, what goals do you want to achieve? And then what you want to do is you want to break those down by objectives. So for each goal, what 3 or 4 objectives do you need to achieve to make that goal a success? Because a goal isn't just one thing. If it's, I need to talk to 30 people, your objectives are probably going to be, I need to attend this many networking events, do this many speaking opportunities. And when you've defined objectives, from there, you're going to define what are the activities I need to do to execute those objectives. If one of the objectives is I need to attend networking events, the activities are I need to go on meetup.com once a week to find my appropriate events. And that's what goes in your calendar. So when you've taken your mission, your vision, you've defined your goals, you've set objectives to hit those goals, and then you break them down into the activities you need to do throughout the year, and you can break them down into months and weeks. Your calendar will then be filled with those activities. It essentially becomes your discipline there as well. To Karen's point, hiring someone to help you remain accountable, or being in a mastermind group, or just having an accountability partner is helpful. But for me, the biggest success was that, because if you think about the corporate world, we've got annual reviews, right, where we've got to apply for our salaries, even try and keep our jobs, right? And you're sort of navigating all of the different things that happen with a corporate world in the seasons, right? Everyone's off in the summer, everyone's buying for Christmas break. So when you work backwards, when you reverse engineer what it is you need to do to achieve your goals and put that in your calendar, for me, it was so much easier avoiding overwhelm. But again, to Karen's point, and Janelle's point about Summer Company, you definitely want to partner with some great mentors that can help hold you accountable and keep your head in the game.
Anybody else want to take that?
Add on to that. So I completely agree with you about having a calendar. And I remember being in grade 6 and 7, I would hate using a calendar. My friends never used one, and I would always feel that if they don't use them, why do I have to? But my mom, she spent years after me teaching me how to use a calendar properly. On my phone, she would, every day after school, she would sit with me and go through my homework, my assignments, and put in 3 to 4 p.m. I'm working on this homework, and 4 to 5 I'm working on this class, this subject. And I remember for years she did that with me until I learned how to do it on my own. I think it's extremely important to know what you're going to do tomorrow, what you're going to do next week, and planning out what events you have, what work you have to do, and not just for school, but also for business. It really helps if I know that I want to put out a dance video next week. I have to prepare for it, and I don't want it to interfere with my schoolwork. I have to plan it out that I have school till 3. After that, I have this class, I have this much homework, and I have this much time throughout the week to work on my dance. So it's really important to plan out all your tasks and all your work to be successful, to not get overwhelmed, and to stay on top of everything.
Also, I have to add chocolate milk. I am not a drinker, so when I get overwhelmed, chocolate milk is my savior.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Janelle. You actually answered the next question. It was all about how do you manage your time being a student with school studies. So that's great. Thank you for that. This one we can open up to everyone. How did you know you were on the right idea? What was that time in your life when you knew that you had to take on the entrepreneurial journey?
I can share
Anybody
something.
want to take that?
I started my business, I started my trial sessions when I was 13 years old. So I had no knowledge on business. My first business course was actually in grade 10. So at 13, I had no business knowledge, and I didn't really know the basics of business. I didn't know about accounting, about marketing. I only knew that I wanted to do something different. I wanted a part-time job. I knew I wanted to do something, but I always had that thought that I don't want to work for anyone. I just thought that I wanted my own company. I wanted to hire people under me, and I wanted to earn money fast. That was my only idea, but I didn't know how it would happen. I didn't know what I need to do to make that goal come true. But I guess if you have it planned out, if you know that you have your goals, and if you know you really want that goal and you really want to do what you want to do, then nothing can really come in between. If you really work towards it, your motivation is all you really need to do what you want to do.
Thank you, Janelle. Anybody else want to take that?
I'll go. I was the worst employee. I think every manager I've ever had was like, please quit. Like, you know, you're a nice guy, but so for me, I couldn't fit. I didn't fit anywhere. And I think a lot of people who enter the entrepreneurial world, I think they don't realize it. But if you think about it, we don't fit anywhere, right? We don't generally fit in, we're, you know, round cubes and square holes. We just don't fit in these places. Actually, maybe it's square and a round hole. Yeah, there you go. And so I think entrepreneurship gives us, those of us that are different or have different ideas or have different beliefs, it gives us an opportunity to be ourselves and explore ourselves. It doesn't mean that you can't still work full time. You know, I know entrepreneurs who do that, and their entrepreneurship is their fulfillment. It's how they stay happy. It's what they love to do. So, you know, for me, the only way I knew it was constantly failing at jobs. Like just, you know, and I worked for large companies, Bell and Rogers and you know, I just didn't fit in. I just didn't fit in. And then the moment I entered entrepreneurship, it was the first time I wasn't the geek or the nerd or the loser. Like it was the first time, like I felt like I was at home. And it's so amazing to any human being when you find a place you belong. When you find a place you belong, you'll never leave. And even again, as I said, you flow back into corporate or entrepreneur, whatever. When you find that, nobody can take that away from you. So I think that's what kept me in it for as long as I did.
And there's another piece, thanks, Bob, for sure. There's another piece in there that it's about how I felt when I was offering my services before I actually jumped in. And when I would leave after being with a client, that was just such a great feeling. And at the start, so I knew that was right for me. But to tell you the truth, like 20 years ago, when I would stand up, because I come from a business background, so I would go to business networking and stand up and say, you know, I'm a Reiki practitioner. And I could see at that point, 20 years ago, kind of the guys in the suits and everything starting to back up in the room. It was like, I don't know what she does, and it doesn't sound like I want to go there. And I'd feel almost people backing up from me. So I had to learn how to put it in terms of the pain points, right? Is where you go. Like, are you experiencing this? Are you experiencing this? And without actually saying Reiki, you know, come and talk to me. That's the work that I do to support you. And so it was, I didn't feel like I fit in the business place right away, but I found my way to bring, you know, what my husband would call my woo-woo work into practicality, because it was before the real age of health and wellness being more than going to a gym. We have so much more awareness around that now, but I could feel it in me first, and I wanted to go there. I was just ahead of the game. So it was a little hard going at the start, and I had to be really creative and have some people on my team that could really help me go, yeah, you've got this, you know, don't give up on it yet. You got to tweak it. I wanted more quick. I didn't want to not be liked, and I wanted more quick success, but you learn to get tougher skin and just keep coming back. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to remind the audience out there, for anyone that's just chiming in, please use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen and submit any of your questions.
Lucy, I think Jackie had a point. Sorry, I think Jackie had a great
Jackie.
point. Sorry.
No, that's
Go
okay.
ahead, Jackie. Sorry, I didn't see.
Echo the
Go
thoughts
ahead.
of Karen and Bob. I felt the same way at the bank, and I did float around. I started at IT. They put me a project manager. I went to critical management, and I had the same feeling. Unless I was leading or managing my own house, so to speak, I didn't feel at home, and I really didn't feel I fit in. I tried so hard, but it wasn't my skin. And then once I got out and started doing what I was doing, and I was on the path, it was a year long trying to build up this business. Or getting it, executing it off because we had to go through a lot of construction, and then I get in there, and then we had our opening day, and then everything just started going to production and stuff, and I was like, I'm where I need to be. And then you feel real, so I just wanted to echo that. Thank you.
That's great. I have a question. How, and this is to any one of you, how do you approach marketing? Bob's laughing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna answer last. I want everyone to have it. I'll kill the rest of the time.
Yeah, you will. It for me, Lucy, it changed based on my phase of my business. Like when I was starting my business, my marketing, I didn't have a lot of budget for marketing, and because my practice was more one-on-one and experiential, what I would do is find as many places as I could to go out and speak and do a presentation, and it's all my time, all free. And I gave lots of gift certificates. It was a time when the silent auction tables and things were really big. So I would offer a gift certificate everywhere that I could put one out, because I knew that was way better than trying to put an ad in a paper or magazine. If someone actually used it and came to see me, I had a client. They would come back. So I needed to get them kind of in my seat, so to speak. So that's how I did it then. Once I was established more, now it's about creating that relationship and that trust. So, it's writing blogs, it's getting my information out there. It's so much word of mouth now. I've been in the community for a long time. I was the president of our local Chamber of Commerce for a few years. And so then it was building relationship, and now it's just coming. So it definitely changed over time. Thank you for that question.
Anybody else want to take that one?
Yeah, for me, it's heavily Instagram for sure. I do a lot of stories and a lot of posts. My followers primarily are on Instagram and Facebook. When it first started, it's been on Instagram since day one. I have dabbled in the flyers and some of the the arenas, like the Magna Centers and stuff with the logos. I really didn't know where to get in front of people, but I'm finding Instagram for me right now for the cafe seems to be the most beneficial. Word of mouth as well as another one. That's why creating those relationships is critical, because when that person leaves my restaurant, I want to make sure that all 5 of those senses were fully, experienced at a very positive manner. Yeah, so that's take it away, Bob.
I can't believe I developed a reputation already. Yeah, you know what, for me, what I've learned over the years is whatever tools I use, whether it's social media, ads, whatever, I apply this MVC method that I've sort of created for myself, which is this idea of marketability, credibility, and visibility. So whatever I do in marketing, I have to figure out the marketability of it, meaning whatever it is I do, what is it that people really, really, really want, right? So to the earlier question, like if we're all lawyers and we're all doctors, figuring out what is that one thing people really, really want, and can I fix that? Can I give them what they need, right? And just obsessing over that. No matter what it is I do in marketing, it's always communicating that point of, you need this, I can do this. So that marketability of understanding who needs it, where do they need it, and how do they need it delivered, right? And then we get into credibility, which is once I've done that, once I've, lack of a better word, exploited that opportunity and really figured it out and built everything I can to do it, credibility is, now how do I establish me as the expert? How do I ensure that no matter what happens in the world, people know when they think about this one thing, they think about Bob. So building and establishing that credibility is important. And that can come from podcast and speaking and authorship, a variety of different ways. But it does take time. But the more you build credibility, it really reinforces the marketing that you do. And then the last one is visibility. What are those simple Google techniques I can apply, whether it's Google My Business, whether it's getting guest blogs, whether it's speaking somewhere and having my website link? What are those simple Google techniques I can use as a non-tech savvy entrepreneur to really to get my name out there without me trying? So if I'm sleeping at night, someone Googles, you know, who loves chocolate milk the most? How do I ensure that Bob Minhas is the one that comes up? So whatever I do, Instagram, Facebook, word of mouth, billboard, it has to, the MBC has to apply. Is there marketability? Is there an audience that's going to see that? Is it going to establish my credibility, or is it going to build visibility in what I'm trying to do?
Thank you, Bob.
So Lucy, I noticed that there's one more question up here, which I think is a really good ending question for everybody, because you are all such warm and open and very brave people. And one of our audience members has asked, what about entrepreneurship makes you feel so alive? So where is your gut of warmth and life that your journey brings you?
So for me, I think it's doing what I love the most. Bollywood dance is not that common here around Aurora and in our area. And growing up, I've always been different from all my friends, from all my classmates. I was always really different. I would always be watching my own Bollywood movies. Everyone would be going out to the mall to watch other movies, to parties, and I would be sitting on my own, watching my own Bollywood movies and coming up with my own dances. So I was always much different from my friends and my classmates growing up. And then when I actually started my company, when I started my own dance business, always being able to do what I love the most, being able to not having to restrict my time with it, not having to think it's not as important, but now it's actually a part of my business. It's like my job. It's something that I can dedicate as much time to as I want. And doing what I love every single day, it's something that really makes me happy. It's something that really makes me love entrepreneurship.
I can go next. That's good. You know, I got to be honest with you. I'm very selfish in that growing up, I grew up with a single mom. I was a latchkey kid. I was never talented. I wasn't like an amazing sports. I wasn't great at acting. I wasn't great at singing. The best I could do was be like the before picture for Jenny Craig. Like there wasn't a lot that I could do, but entrepreneurship allowed me to actually help people in the work that I do. I can actually be productive and contributory to my community and to the world. That's why I love it so much. It was the only way I knew how to give back and create space, a world, and a legacy for me. There was nothing else I could do that I knew in my head that I could contribute to. But I knew that whatever it is I built, whoever it is that I helped, whatever I did, as long as it contributed to the greater fabric of my community, that's what I always want to do. And entrepreneurship was, for me, the only vehicle that I could do that in. So that's what I love about it. And that's what I get so sweaty excited about it, is I feel like every day I get up, I'm contributing to something better. It's not that I'm contributing to something that is meaningless or worse, negatively impacting. I'm always working on contributing to something that's meaningful to my community.
So true, Bob and Janelle. There was something that took place when I got higher up in the ranks of my corporate world. And that was when I popped around in lots of departments too, Jackie. And I spent a couple of years in HR, and this company that I thought was so great, because I really carry rose-colored glasses. It's just part of who I am. I got into HR and I learned of all of these other things that happen kind of behind the doors, and how things are orchestrated and fixed, and favorites and chosen ones, and pulling strings and not following, the rules here, but you do have to follow them here. And it just didn't feel right. in my being. And I went, I'm contributing to that. And so it started to be a disconnect for me. And it was like, it just wasn't sitting. And when I found this other thing that I really felt passionate about and that I could control. So there's this selfish thing about it. And I think that that's a good thing. I've learned over time, like that's a good thing. I don't want people telling me what I had to do all the time and where I was to spend my energy. I wanted to decide where I was going to spend my energy and my time. And nobody was going to tell me that my son had a really important day at school and I couldn't go to it because I didn't have any holiday days left or whatever. Like those are the qualities of life that are really important to me. And I wanted to be able to make my choice of where I was going to work hard and where I was going to take some time off and be with my top my top rocks, right? My top priorities and values, and that's my family. And so those are some of the really strong things that for me, and no limits. I can work as little as I want or as much as I want, and I get to choose. Those are important things for me, and it's been a strong drive. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. That was amazing and well said, and Bob and Janelle as well. And I echo all of it. I think it comes down to humanity and what you were saying, Karen, about being in the corporate world and seeing all this stuff. And it just reminded me of people making rules and exceptions, and you know, people are being plucked from here and there, and you feel like you're contributing to it, and it's very true, and you, to your core, you know it's wrong, and you want to go out and do your own thing and lead your company the way you think it should be led, authentically, transparently, and with kindness and all that good stuff that comes right down to the raw human nature of who we are, to be kind to each other. And when we see stuff like that in the corporate world, and you see it a lot because the companies are so big, and it's like it's moving an iceberg. It's difficult, and I know they want to be good, but they're too big. So we branch out on our own, and we start up our own. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. I hope everyone felt the energy of our fabulous entrepreneurs this evening. Entrepreneurs in Residence happens twice a year, and our next one will be in April. So out to you, audience. If you are an entrepreneur with a story to tell, please contact me at APL. I'm so easy to find. I'd love to hear from you because I'll be looking for entrepreneurs for our next session. And I would really like to thank Karen Armstrong, Janelle Patadia, Bob Minhas, and Jackie Moore. And thank you everyone at home for joining us this evening. Be safe.
Thank you guys to the APL Library for putting all this on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Jackie, I'd love to know your Instagram handle.
Me too.
It's cafe.alexandra.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Janelle, are you on Instagram too?
Yeah, it's Radhe Krishna Dance.
Okay.
Sorry, Janelle, can you say that again?
Would you put it in the chat for us, Janelle?
Yeah.
I was going to ask the same of you, Jackie. I don't know why I can't pull it up, the cafe.
Cafe.alexandra?
Oh, sorry, dot.
That's okay.
Yeah, I got it. I'm a follower.
Awesome. Yay. Do you have
Got
Instagram,
it.
Karen?
Yeah, it'll show up then if I just followed you, right?
Right. I'll get you. Yeah, for sure. Oh, there's Bob. Okay. Wonderful.
And I'm at Inside Out. That's the one that'll come up.
Okay.
Oh, I've got you, Karen. I read your stuff all the time, like an obsessive chubby kid eating chocolate. I love your stuff.
There we go.
Okay.
So everybody, as our event is officially over, what I'm finding really interesting right now is how you're all networking, because that's really part of the whole thing is how everybody is always networking and sharing and all of that. So I'm going to tell you that I've scouted most of you out. I have to say, I love your food videos, Jackie.
Oh,
Janelle, your website is just drop dead gorgeous. Karen, your website is so very personal. I really love that. And Bob, you just keep on redefining and re-energizing. And I'm telling you, you almost make me want to quit my day job, but not quite, because I love it. But your energy is really overwhelming.
Don't tell your people at Lead. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to be banned from the Aurora Public Library.
Never.
They'll never let you go. I think you're amazing at what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Love this. I'll look forward to watching other ones.
So Janelle, do you do dance lessons now with everything going on, or is it virtual? Like, how are you doing your dance now?
I moved it online, so I teach through Zoom.
Okay. Got it. All right. So that's it. So I think we all need to go there for a desk. We need to do a virtual lesson.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We're going to call it Bollywood in Residence. All 6 of us and the rest, everyone on this chat's going to go.
Yeah. Looks so fun. And then we'll go have a wonderful meal at Jackie's.
Yeah.
Oh, we can totally do that. Absolutely. There we go. Jackie, are you open as well? You're open during this time?
Yeah, we are. Tomorrow there's going to be an announcement, so we'll figure out whether we're going to be. I know it's back and forth all the time, but Region has submitted an emergency letter requesting that we don't be included within the appeal in the Toronto decision. So we'll know tomorrow.
Yeah, or at least split North and South York.
Yes, right.
Big shift between.
They're like 80% on and Markham, or 80% of the numbers.
Yeah.
Like,
it's always like the big brother or the little sister that gets us in trouble. it's them, it's not us. Why are we getting blamed as the middle child? I don't understand.
Yeah.
But I know, because I guess these decisions are made regionally, so it's hard. Because I know in Durham, like Uxbridge has very little cases, and they're also being impacted by Durham's move. So I think as a whole,
that's right.
they've got to make those choices. So.
All right. Well, thank you. Best of luck, everyone. I look forward to connecting again.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
Yeah.
Thanks again for hosting this Aurora Public Library. This is awesome.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.